Today's topic is radio imaging in excretory system. In excretory system consists of both kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder and urethra. Various modalities which are used in studying of excretory systems are X-rays, USG, CT scan, MRI and other radionuclide studies. Terminology are used differently in different modality. In X-ray, the terminology used is radio opaque and radiolucent. The structure which appears brighter on the X-ray are called as radio opaque, and which appear dark are labeled as radiolucent. In ultrasound, the structure which appears brighter are called as echogenic, and which appears darker, means black, it's called as anechoic. In CT scan, the terminology is used as hyperdense and hypodense. The hyperdense structures appear brighter on the CT scan, and black or dark on is called as hypodense. In MRI, instead of density, it's used as intensity. Hyperintense appears bright and hypointense appears dark. Now the kidneys. Both kidneys are retroperitoneal structure in the superior lumbar region. Right kidney is slightly lower than the left. The kidney has a lateral convex surface and concave medial surface having a hilum. In the hilum, ureters, renal blood vessels, lymphatics, nerves enters and exit at the hilum. In internal anatomy, the renal kidney is having renal cortex, medulla and renal pelvis. In cortex, it's a granular superficial region, outer part. Medulla is a cone-shaped medullary pyramids separated by the renal columns. Papilla is the tip of pyramid which releases the urine into the minor calyx. From the minor calyx, urine leaks into the major calyx and then into renal pelvis and then ureter. Ureters. There are paired fibromuscular tube that conveys urine from kidneys into the abdomen, to the bladder, into the pelvis. Both ureters having approximately 25 to 37 centimeter long, and it has three parts. It's an abdominal ureter, pelvic ureter and intravesical intramural part. Abdominal ureter is from renal pelvis to the pelvic brim. Pelvic ureter is from pelvic brim up to the urinary bladder, and intravesical or intramural ureter is within the urinary bladder wall. In the normal individual, the ureters are having three constrictions. One is at the pelviureteric junction of the renal pelvis and a ureter. Other is at the ureter is entering into the pelvis and crosses over the common iliac artery at the bifurcation. And third, at the site of vesico-ureteric junction, where ureter is entering into the urinary bladder. Urinary bladder is the distalmost part of the urinary tract and its extraperitoneal structure located in the true pelvis. Urinary bladder is fixed inferiorly via condensation of pelvic fascia which attach it and back to the back of the pubis, lateral wall of the pelvis and the rectum. Continuity with the prostate in male with the strong puboprostatic ligaments is seen. Urinary bladder relations. Anteriorly, its pubic symphysis. Posteriorly, rectovesical pouch and the rectum. Inferiorly, prostate, obturator internus muscle, levator ani muscle. Superiorly, peritoneum and laterally ischioanal fossa. This is a cross section of the both kidneys, which is this is the renal cortex, this is renal medulla, this is minor calyx, major calyx, which drains into the renal pelvis and ultimately drain into the ureter. This is a normal plain X-ray KUB. This is what structures are seen in the plain X-ray KUB. This is the liver, soft tissue opacity at the right upper quadrant. This soft tissue opacity at the left upper quadrant shadow is of the spleen. This is a soft tissue opacity shadow of the right kidney and left kidney. This black shadow is of stomach, so it is called the radiolucent area. This gas shadow is of radiolucent area is of ascending colon, and this is the rectum. So, radio opaque on KUB are the structures which are brighter are called as the radio opaque, and the black dark structures are called as the radiolucent. This is a normal sonographic image showing the kidney, how it's look on the ultrasound, and how a measurement is done in the ultrasonography. This is how length is measured at approximately 10 to 12 centimeter. This is the width measured is 4 to 6 centimeter. Cortical thickness means parenchymal thickness is 13 to 25 mm. And this central echogenic part, this is brighter part is the renal hilum, which contains the perihilar fat. Normal CT KUB, how the kidneys looks on the plane and contrast CT scan in axial. This is the axial image of the CT scan, and this is the coronal image of the abdomen. In axial scan, you can see this is the brighter structure. This is hyperdense. This is the liver's liver. These both are structures are kidney. This is the IVC, inferior vena cava. This is abdominal aorta. This black structure means hypodense is the fat. This is the spleen. This is adrenal gland. This fluid density structure, small tubular structure is of duodenum, and this is gas filled means radiolucent structure is ascending colon, hepatic structure part. This is a coronal image, reconstructed image of the same axial images of the patient. This is the kidney on both lumbar regions, and this central shadow is of lumbar vertebra. In a CT scan, the terminology is used density, which is hypodense or hyperdense or isodense. Density is measured in Hounsfield unit, which is from -1000 HU, which is of air, and +1000 is of bone. The fat is also having the negative density. Water is having 0 to 15 density. This is the MRI image of the magnetic resonance imaging of the abdomen, showing the both kidneys. This is hypo to iso-intense structure. This brighter is hyperintense structure is of fat, and splenic parenchyma, and this is renal hilar fat, which appears brighter. This is soft shadow, both side. Now, intravenous pyelography showing the both renal calyces, pelvis, and ureters. You can see that this is a faint soft tissue structure seen in the right lumbar region and the left lumbar region, both sides. This is a renal parenchyma, renal nephrogram. So you can easily outline the kidney size and its surface on the IVP study. On the both sides, this is a minor calyx, this is major calyx, and drains into the renal pelvis, then drain into ureter and into the bladder. This is IVP study is used for the various pathology of the kidney, including parenchymal pathologies, obstructive pathology of pelvis, ureter, and bladder. You can easily see that both ureters are traced from renal pelvis into bladder, and it's lying on the L3, L4 lumbar vertebra, L4, L5 lumbar vertebra, and on the psoas muscles. This is the reconstructed image of the patient who underwent the CT urography study for to rule out the obstructive pathology on the right side. You can differentiate between the from two sides. This is right side. This renal parenchyma is brighter. Left parenchyma is less brighter, and this minor calyx and major calyx is excreting into the pelvis, and it is in the ureter. But on the right side, the contrast is not excreted from the right kidney, and it's a fluid density structure is seen, and it's dilated as compared to the left side. So this is the hydronephrotic right kidney, showing dilated renal pelvis, and also this is the mid lower part of mid and upper and mid part of the ureter, which is filled with the urine. It is not as dense as this, so fluid density is decreased. So somewhere pathology lying in the lower ureter, which is obstructing the excretion from the right kidney, causing the hydronephrotic right kidney and hydroureter. Similarly, the same obstructive pathology, how it appears on the sonography. In sonography, you can see that this is the renal cortex, this minor calyx, this major calyx, renal pelvis, which are obviously dilated, and also dilated upper ureter. So there is pathology is lying in the ureter which is causing obstructive uropathy. Now various how urinary bladder is seen on ultrasonography, CT scan, MRI, and how its volume measurement is occurred. In ultrasound, the bladder is seen in the pelvic cavity which is distended completely with thin walled, no internal echoes, no irregularities, the margins are smooth. So it's a normal distended urinary bladder which appears anechoic, cystic-like structures in the pelvic cavity. While in the CT scan, it appears as hyperdense. Fluid appears as approximately 10 to 15 density, while the fat is appearing black and air appearing black. On MRI, you can see the bladder appears brighter. It is hyperintense, no irregularity in the wall mucosa, so it's a normal urinary bladder with posterior relation with the uterus. And so central line, this is the endometrial cavity. This is a nambocensis in the lower part. This anterior part is of bone. This is actually sagittal image of the MRI of pelvic cavity. Posteriorly, this is the rectum. And on ultrasound, the volume is measured as transverse diameter, AP diameter, and superior inferior diameter. How the bladder volume is measured on ultrasound. Now we go for the few basic pathologies, few congenital anomalies. Out of them is persistent fetal lobulation, duplication of collecting system, drooping lily signs, horseshoe kidney, cross-fused renal ectopia, junctional cortical defect, hypertrophied column of Burton. I am not going into detail for this, but I am only showing you images, how it appears on various modalities. You can see that this is for ultrasound showing the irregular lobulated margin as compared to previously, and also seen here is a smooth margin. Here is a lobulated margin. This is a persistent fetal lobulation. It's a normal variant due to the incomplete fusion of the developing renal lobules. Now this is the X-ray urography study showing the duplex collecting system. You can easily visualize that there is on the right side, the upper moiety has a separate renal collecting system and renal pelvis and ureter, and also lower pole calyx, mid lower pole calyx also having separate collecting system, but with both are draining separately by the double ureter into the urinary bladder. This is called the duplication of collecting system on the right side. This on the left side, you can see that upper and lower pole moiety are draining by the separate calyces and which are fused at the renal pelvis. This is a 5 bifid PC system which is draining into the single renal pelvis and draining by a single ureter into the urinary bladder. This is normal variation occur in the individual. Now drooping lily sign. In drooping lily sign, you can see that this is on the left side. The upper pole, mid pole, and lower pole calyx are seen separately, and it's the direction of the calyces is upwards and laterally. While in this on the right side, you cannot visualize the upper pole calyx collecting system, only seeing the lower pole calycal system which is draining into the lower pole calyx. So it's because of some cortical cyst or non-functioning upper pole cortical collecting system leads to the non-opacification of the upper pole calycal system on the urography study, leads to the appearance of drooping lily sign on urography study. Now this is also urography study showing the horseshoe kidney. Horseshoe kidney is formed by the fusion across the midline of two distinct functioning kidneys, one on each side of the midline. They are connected by an isthmus either by functioning renal parenchyma or fibrous tissue. You can also visualize that in this normal side, you can see that the pelvic system is directed towards the outward and laterally, while in this renal collecting system and hilum is facing medially, not outwards. So it is mal-rotated on the both sides because of horseshoe kidney, both are fused in the centrally. You can visualize that this is a renal shadow which is continued on the midline and fused with the lower part, which leads to the mal-rotation of the kidney and fusion of the mid part, and hilum is rotated medially. Another pathology entity is variation is the cross-fused renal ectopia. Refers to the anomaly where the kidneys are fused and located on the same side of the midline. This is the upper right kidney and this left kidney, both are fused at the right lumbar region and draining into the ureter. The upper ureter is not opacified because it is not excreted. So because images are taken earlier, maybe excreted laterally later on. Other subtypes are type A, inferior cross fusion, type B, sigmoid kidney, type C, lump kidney, type D, disc kidney, other is L-shaped kidney and superiorly cross fused kidney. Now, junctional cortical defect. You can see that bright echogenic line is extending from the renal cortex to the renal hilum. This is a fibrous band, this is cortical defect. It is because of due to the incomplete embryonic fusion of the renaculi. Another entity is hypertrophic column of Bertin. This is also normal variation due to the extension of renal cortical tissue separating the renal pyramids. These are the renal pyramids which is separated by the renal cortexes invading the pyramids. Now, few infectious disease. It includes infectious pyelonephritis, renal tuberculosis, and emphysema pyelonephritis. In infectious pyelonephritis, most common organism involved is the E. coli. Other organisms are Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, H. influenza. On sonography, you can see that kidney in infectious pyelonephritis, most common sign is the enlarged, bulky kidneys having focal or diffuse involvement of the parenchyma, which appears brighter. You can easily visualize that this is the mid lower pole of the right kidney, which is normal, and upper pole is brighter, echogenic, and it's bulky. This is a CT urography, better visualization of the renal parenchyma and other adjacent structure is useful in CT scan. On CT scan, the edematous kidney which is seen with perinephric fat standing is noted. In contrast study, wedge-shaped hypodense area, and in delayed scan striated nephrogram seen. This is a delayed nephrogram. This is a wedge-shaped area which is not or heterogeneously enhancing areas. Other sections are showing that there is adjacent inflammation which fat standing is seen. So it is advantageous over the IVP or ultrasound. Renal tuberculosis. Renal tuberculosis as a subset of genitourinary tuberculosis accounts for 50 to 20% of extrapulmonary tuberculosis. Tuberculosis can involve both renal parenchyma and the collective system and result in different presentation and radiographic appearance. Investigation of choice for renal tuberculosis is IVP. It's an initial investigation. For chronic and accurate measurements, it is more important than intravenous pyrelophrography. MRI has limited or no role in renal tuberculosis. In imaging findings, when we take the plain X-ray, plain radiograph revealing the classic lobar pattern of calcification, which is pathognomic of end-stage renal tuberculosis, and sometimes ureteric calcification is also noted. Also plain radiography, there is enlarged shadow is also may be seen on plain X-ray film. IVP is used quite sensitive for renal tuberculosis with only 10% affecting the patient having normal imaging. The imaging findings in IVP is parenchymal scars, moth-eaten calyces. It is the earliest finding and loss of definition with the minor calyx with the feathery outline. Phantom calyx, other findings are phantom calyx, it's a non-visualization, then hydronephrotic kidney because of pus is accumulated in the, or caseation is accumulated in the renal pelvis, ileal system and renal pelvis. Other is Kerking sign, means kinking because of fibrosis, the kinking of the renal pelvis is occurring, sawtooth ureter because of mucosal irregularity, then pipe stem appearance, corkscrew appearance of the ureter, and in the inferiorly, if bladder is involved, it is thimble bladder, contracted bladder without calcification. This is ultrasound image of the patient is having tuberculosis, and on the right side and on the left side, the axial images of the CT scan of the patient is having tuberculosis of the left kidney. On the right side, you can see these are the anechoic structures which are dilated pelvic ileal system, minor calyx, major calyx, and this is a few internal debris within the sonographic images. and this also echoes, internal echoes means this is a pus or debris or destructed renal parenchyma is accumulated with the renal pelvic system, which is causing obstructive hydronephrosis on the right kidney. Similarly, similarly, if the patient is having renal tuberculosis, it is seen somewhat picture is like this. This right renal, this is the right kidney. This is showing normal renal minor calyx, major calyx, and renal pelvis. On the left side, this you can see that there is dilated minor, major calyx, renal pelvis, and few an internal hyperdense density echoes, and these are few microscopic lesions are noted on the renal parenchyma, suggestive of renal tuberculosis. CT is more sensitive modality than the X-ray, and early papillary necrosis resulting in uneven calectasis. Progressive generalized focal hydronephrosis, mural thickening may occur and enhancement, poorly enhancing renal parenchyma on the later stages if the vascularity is compromised. End stage there is very thin parenchymal mimicking multiple wall cysts, and in the end stage extensive amorphous dystrophic calcification because of non-functioning kidney. This is the IVP of patient having tuberculosis. You can on the left side see that the normal collecting system, minor calyx, major calyx, these are the normal structures, while on the right side there is stricture in the minor calyx and infundibulum, so it causes obstruction. This is the early finding of renal tuberculosis. So IVP is helpful for diagnosis of tuberculosis. Now another entity is emphysematous pyelonephritis. On the left side, the renal parenchyma is not obviously visualized because of gas shadow. This is the colonic shadow and small bowel shadow. On the right side, you can see the reniform mottled dirty shadow. So it is a gas or air noted within the renal parenchyma, suggestive of emphysematous pyelonephritis in the right kidney. You can also visualize this is the right left source shadow, and this is obscuring the right source shadow because of emphysematous pyelonephritis. On ultrasound, you can see these are the dirty echoes which are giving after shadowing at the posterior cortex, so suggestive of emphysematous pyelonephritis. Similarly, on the CT axial image is showing that as compared to right side, this left side kidney is grossly enlarged in size with air fluid level noted in the lower part, suggestive of infective pathology or something emphysematous pyelonephritis. Another patient having similar this air-filled structure in the renal cortex and also in the renal pelvis and on the ureter. So it's emphysematous pyelonephritis. You can easily see that these are the bright echogenic strands around the kidney. This is inflammation on the right, adjacent to the left kidney. This anterior fascia is Zerotas fascia. This is the lateral conal fascia, and this posterior renal fascia. This black is anterior. This black anterior perirenal space, posterior perirenal space, and then this is on the left retroperitoneal fat spaces. Now, few renal cysts and hydronephrosis. Renal cyst, how it appears on the ultrasonography. These are the anechoic, simple, well-defined cystic structure seen at the lower pole of the kidney. We are having no internal septa, no enhancing, no internal solid component. So this is the uncomplicated simple renal cyst. It is having intraparenchymal and exophytic component. This is the complicated renal cyst on the left lower pole, having irregular margin with, you can see that these are the internal septas, bright echogenic septas and few echoes in it. So it's a complicated renal cyst. It should be further evaluated for underlying malignancy or infective pathology. Now hydronephrotic kidney. Hydronephrosis is defined as a dilatation of the urinary collecting system of the kidney, the callosal, infundibulum and the pelvis. When the ureter is also dilated, then the term is used is hydroureteronephrosis. Various grading of hydronephrosis on ultrasonography. In this, you can see that minimum urine is Grade 1, there is minimal fullness of the renal pelvis is noted. In grade 2, there is dilatation of the major calyces is noted with dilated renal pelvis. Grade 3, there is dilatation of the minor calyx, major calyx and renal pelvis. And grade 4, there is parenchymal thinning because of gross dilatation of the pelvic calyceal system. There is thinning of the renal parenchyma because of obstruction. Other pathology is chronic kidney disease. It's because of the decreased renal function in ARF, CRF, acute renal failure and chronic renal failure patients. In chronic renal failure patients, reduce cortical thickness is less than 6 mm, reduce the length of the kidney. If it is more than less than 7 cm, it is called as a small kidney or atrophied kidney because of chronic renal disease. Poor visibility of the renal pyramids and the renal sinuses and marginal irregularities are noted. Later on stages, if its kidney is non-functioning or poorly functioning, then there is papillary calcification also noted. Now the grading of chronic kidney disease on ultrasound. On grade 1, the kidney appears isoechoic to liver parenchyma. On grade 2, it appears hyperechoic to liver parenchyma. It is compared with the renal parenchyma with the echogenicity of the liver parenchyma. And in grade 3, there is isoechoic to renal pelvis. So there is no differentiation between the cortex, renal, pelvic system. You can only see that irregular echogenic mass-like structure. Now few pathology, renal malignancies. The ultrasonography, these are the large round to oval hypo to isoechoic intraparenchymal and exophytic lesion is showing arising from the lower pole of the kidney. It may be because of infective pathology or tumor, maybe malignancy. So further investigation is suggested, like color Doppler study of these patients and contrast study on the CT scan. Similarly, the patient with this is the axial scan of the patient is showing that large well-defined inhomogeneously enhancing hyperdense structures with central heterogeneous enhancement. These are the non-enhancing or necrotic component within the lesion at the posterior cortex and lower pole of the right kidney, which is also extending into the renal pelvis. So it's highly suggestive of renal malignancy and further investigated biopsy for the malignancy pathology. Most of the patients are present with the clinically microscopic hematuria, flank pain and palpable flank masses. Histologically, most common is the clear cell carcinoma, papillary RCC and chromophobe RCC. CT scan for classification and staging of the tumor, CT scan is more important because it helps for localization of the tumor, its spread, local spread, distance spread. So it will helpful for TNM staging. From T1 to T2, the T lesion is tumor pathology is confined to the kidney. If a lesion is less than 4 cm, then it is called the T1A. The size of the lesion is between 4 to 7. Then is T1B. If it is more than 7 cm, so it is T2. If tumor is invading to the adjacent perinephric fat, the staging is called as T3A. Adrenal is also involved, then also included in the T3A. If venous involvement is occurring, a tumor is invading the IVC or renal vein, then T3B, T3C is labeled NT in TNM staging. Locally advanced, if it is involving the adjacent liver parenchyma, retroperitoneal fat and adjacent duodenum, then it's called as a T4. Lymphatic involvement, NET, and cystic metastasis is M1. So for operability, CT scan is important to rule out how the tumor is spread for TNM staging. Ultrasound, how initially because of the cost of the CT scan is more, most of the patients are undergoing the CT scan, ultrasound instead of CT scan. In ultrasound, this is a large oval mass, hypoechoic mass at the lower port showing the internal vascularity. This is the arterial waveform. It represents the underlying neoplastic pathology. Similarly, CT scan of the patient, so axial image is showing this is a plain scan, this is corticomedullary phase, and this is a nephrogenic phase. In cortical phase, it is isodense lesion at the anterior cortex. In corticomedullary phase is some was heterogeneous enhancement as compared to mid-lower pole, and in nephrogenic phase, it appears clearly separately from the other adjacent renal parenchyma. So it's a renal pathology. It's well outlined on nephrogenic phase. Now, urolithiasis is referred to the presence of calculi anywhere along the course of the urinary tract. Composition of the urinary tract stones varies widely depending upon the metabolic alteration, geography, and presence of the infection, and their size varies from gravel to the staghorn calculi. A more common composition of the stone includes calcium oxalate and calcium phosphate. It's a 75%, which appear radio opaque. True white, it's a triple phosphate. It accounts for 15% of urolithiasis. Other are pure calcium phosphate, uric acid, and cysteine. Uric acid and cysteine stones are radiolucents, so they may not be appeared on the X-ray and CT scan, but can be seen on the ultrasound. Abdominal radio calcium containing stones are radio opaque. Calcium oxalate, calcium phosphate, true white, usually opaque but variable pure calcification phosphate occur. Lucent stone include the uric acid, cysteine, and indena store. This is a brain X-ray KOB, which showing the radio opacity. You can see that this is a renal parenchymal shadow, and this round to oval radio opaque shadow at the lower pole of the left kidney, suggestive of calculus in the lower pole calyx of the left kidney. These are the osteophytes in the lumbar vertebra. You can visualize this. In kidney, you can see this bright echogenic structure is half moon shaped, is calculus with after shadowing is noted. It should be differentiated between the renal pelvis fat. These are the renal pelvis fat which are also appear brighter, but it does not have the posterior acoustic shadowing. So you have to differentiate between the renal pelvis fat and the renal calculus with after shadowing. This is also ultrasound image of the patient having right vesico-ureteric junction calculus, showing approximately 8 to 10 mm, 8 mm size calculus with after shadowing with proximal dilated ureter. This is a reconstructed image of the CT KUB coronal image showing the large radiopaque calculus at the pelvic-ureteric junction causing moderate to gross hydronephrosis. Also you can note that this is thinning of the renal parenchyma as compared to left side. So it will helpful for CT scan is helpful for showing that perirenal oozing or something cortical thinning. It will helpful. Few congenital anomalies of ureter and urinary bladder. As I have seen you that this is a duplex pelvic ileal system with duplication of ureter and urinary bladder. Ectopic ureter may not normally open into the bladder, but may open into the posterior urethra. It's ectopic ureter. In various ectopic opening of the ureters are seen in females: bladder, neck, and upper urethra, vaginal vestibule, and cervix and uterus. In male, ectopic opening may be in the lower urinary bladder, posterior urethra, seminal vesicle, ductus deferens, and ejaculatory duct. Ureterocele. Congenital dilatation of the distal most portion of the ureter. A dilated portion of the ureter may herniate into the bladder secondary to abnormal structure of the vesico-ureteric junction. Ureterocele having two types, intravesical and extravesical. In intravesical, it occurs at a normal VUJ junction, and extravesical is just proximal to the vesico-ureteric junction near the bladder neck. In an IVP, filling defect in the urinary bladder, cobra head sign, which may be distended, collapsed, or even everted. Radiolucent halo effect is noted. You can see this is a cystic dilated structure on the ultrasonic image near the vasa-ureteric junction. It dilates on the each peristalsis. So it's a ureterocele, how it appears on the ultrasonography. Now vasico-ureteric reflux. Vasico-ureteric reflux is a term for abnormal flow of urine from bladder to the upper urinary tract, and it's typically encountered in young children. It may be associated with the other abnormalities like of a congenital obstructive posterurethral membrane, bulbar urethral obstruction, urethral partial obstruction, duplex collecting system. For grading, there are 5 grades of BUR. In grade 1, this is a normal. Urine is within the urinary bladder, no reflux of urine into ureter. In grade 1, there is reflux of ureter up to the mid-lower part, so it's a grade 1. If the reflux of the urine from lower ureter up to the renal pelvis, it's a grade 2. In grade 3, there is dilatation of the renal ureter and minimal fullness of the PC system. In grade 4, there is dilated tortuous ureter with moderate hydronephrosis of the kidney. And in grade 5, grossly dilated tortuous ureter with gross hydronephrosis and also having thinning of the parenchyma. So these are the grading of vasico-ureteric reflux, which is required for planning of surgery of vasico-ureteric reflux. This is a urographic imaging showing reflux of contrast in the lower ureter on the right side. This image is showing the reflux of contrast in the both ureter up to the upper part. This is the reflux of contrast in the kidney and dilated pelvis here. This is a grade 5 dilated tortuous renal pelvis and pelvic system with gross hydronephrosis. Few urethral abnormalities. It includes the congenital valves. It's having posturethral valves, anteurethral valves. There are diverticula and outpouching from the urethra. Urethral dilatation may be occur. It's called as a megalourethra. Congenital urethral stricture may be occur, which leads to the VUR and hydronephrosis. Bladder abnormalities include bladder agenesis. It is a rare anomaly, and most of the infants with bladder agenesis are stillborn. Now the other pathology is bladder exstrophy. Bladder exstrophy occurs in 1 in 30,000 live births with 2:1 male predominance. Failure in development of the mesoderm below the umbilicus leads to the absence of lower abdominal and anteabdominal wall. These patients are having increased risk of developing bladder carcinoma later on stage, and it includes adenocarcinoma most commonly. Bladder fistula may occur because of congenital or acquired. Causes of acquired fistulas include trauma, inflammation, radiation, neoplasm. This is an anatomical variation having double urinary bladder with both the kidneys are draining into a separate urinary bladder by ureter. This patient having double ureter with double urethra, and this is the MR image is showing the double urinary bladder with duplex PC system on the left side, while normal PC system on the right side. Infectious cystitis. Women at high risk of developing cystitis because of having a short urethra and colonization of the rectal flora is easily done. Bladder outlet obstruction and prostatitis result in cystitis in male. Mucosal on ultrasonography, we can see that mucosal edema and decreased bladder capacity. Most common finding on sonography is diffuse bladder wall thickening. This is the sonographic image. This echogenic line with dirty after settling is because of the air within the urinary bladder. This normal mucosal irregularity is noted, while you can see that this is the irregular mucosal wall on the right side, suggestive of cystitis. This is the X-ray pelvis showing the large radio opacity, round to oval opacity in the pelvic cavity. This is the calculus within the urinary bladder. This patient was undergone for sonography, and how this calculus is seen in ultrasonography, it's like a half moon with after shadowing. Urinary bladder trauma and its radiological classification. In type 1 urinary bladder injury, there is only contusion of the urinary bladder wall is noted. No extravasation of contrast from bladder into retroperitoneum or intraperitoneum or extraperitoneum. In type 2 urinary bladder injury, there is intraperitoneal urinary bladder rupture. You can see that this is a leakage of contrast from fundus and into this leakage of contrast within the peritoneum. This is the type 2 urinary bladder injury. In type 3 interstitial injury, there is the contrast is leakage is noted within the wall of the urinary bladder. No extra urinary bladder leakage is noted. In type 4 simple extraperitoneal urinary bladder rupture, there is discontinuity in the anterior wall of the urinary bladder with leakage of contrast in the extraperitoneal space. While type 4, the type 5 includes both intraperitoneal leakage and extraperitoneal leakage of urine. Procedures will be taken later on. So finally, the investigation of choice for axillary system in short. If you want to diagnose the renal calculi, non-contrast CT is the base modality. X-ray, sometimes small radiopacity can be missed on the plain X-ray KOB. For early detection of renal tuberculosis, IVP is better, but for chronic renal tuberculosis, CT is the investigation of choice. For detection of the glomerular filtration rate, the technetium 99 DTPS scan is required, and for renal function, MAC3 scan is required. For cortical renal scarring and reflux nephropathy, technetium 99 DMSS scan is required, and for renal arterial stenosis, MR angiography is the gold standard. For pre-transplant workup, renal angiography is required to rule out the vascularity, some anomalies, congenital anomalies of the blood supply of the kidney. Sometimes kidney having dual blood supply from another from aorta or iliac vessels. So pre-transplant workup angiography is must. Screening for renovascular hypertension, captopril DTPS scan is required. For painful hematuria, you can go for the plain non-contrast CT scan. And if it is painless hematuria, and most common cause of painless hematuria is malignancy, so you require CT urography. And for reflux micturating cystoangiography is required. Thank you.